Hello everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome to another video. This is a special kind of video. We're going back to Warlight, also known as Warzone, and I've been playing a few quick matches again, and I do care quite a lot about quick match. I try to play every single game focused to avoid having an elo loss. I'm in the top 100 of the quick match leaderboards, and I used to be top 50 even, and then I stopped playing for over a year. Then when I came back, I lost a lot of elo, and sometimes you just have bad days and you just lose a lot of games. Anyways, about 3 years ago, I used to do these series of videos called Surviving Quick Match and going over some of the games that I had against some players that were sort of interesting. So I thought I would revive that with a few of the games that I've been having again recently. And in particular, I want to talk about 3 games that I did in the Imperium Romanum setup against this particular player called Canis Majoris. I hadn't played Canis Majoris before, at least I don't remember playing him. Apparently he likes Imperium Romanum a lot because we ended up pairing quite a few times, and the first game in particular was quite annoying for me, and I will show you why. So you can see here the picks already that I decided to pick. It was a bit of a weird board. There was no position on Egypt, Arabia, which is usually the main safe position that you can have in this map. Had a very nice safe Tarraconisia, but I also saw first turn bonus in Asia and first turn bonus in Southern Gaul or Narbonneses, so I wanted to capitalize on that. There's also a first turn bonus down here in Numidia, but Numidia is kind of annoying to, like, you can't really expand much. You can get Africa next, and then everything else is quite slow to expand from there. So I tend to avoid it when possible. Also, Baetica was possible, but with the direct counter in Lusitania, didn't feel very appealing. So I tried to get this first turn bonus. If I get the one here, I could easily get the first turn bonus in Asia. And if I get that, I could probably get the entire domination over Ponticia and Syria, which wins the game for sure. This is like very high income and totally safe, very safe from the main 2 choke points here and here. So that was my plan. I thought, okay, he might go for the 1-2, even if he goes for the same 1-2 as me, and we end up splitting it. I still have a 2 bonus there, and I still have like Syria that I can expand into easily, and I can get myself a backup in Tarraconensis to have, free income. And if that fails and he's there and we like split this into 2 ways, I also have, either a first turn bonus in Southern Gaul or Narbonneses, or I can get a counter of some sort. I thought I had my bases covered. What I didn't consider was that he might pick Tribus Gaete as like a combo for Tracia itself. I thought no one was going to pick Dacia for sure. I mean, it's sort of appealing because you can get Illyricum in 2 turns. But I thought with Asia being a first turn bonus, no one was going to try Illyricum in 2 turns. It would be always too dangerous. I thought no one would ever pick this, and this was my mistake. Let's take a look at his picks. And he goes 1, 2, 3, so he assumes he's going to get the 1, and either he gets the 1 and get the first turn bonus in Asia, or he gets the 1 and he gets a first turn bonus in Tracia and then expands into Dacia. Which is good. It works. Then he has a 4th pick in Southern Italy, which I don't really agree with. But I guess he might have been thinking that he would get Illyricum, like if he gets his 1, 2, 3, he would get Illyricum after that in 2 turns. Maybe, I don't know. Or just because it's safe and he wants safe income. I guess that's also a good theory. Tarraconensis is much safer than that, in my humble opinion. The 6th pick, I guess he has as a counter to Southern Italy. which doesn't make much sense because Southern Italy isn't the first turn bonus. I would have picked somewhere else. And then 7 and 8 here because, I don't know, counter to something if he loses it, I guess. So I can understand some of the reasoning behind his picks, but clearly it's not what I would have picked. And what we ended up with was this split. I only knew about his position in Asia, and I knew about his position in Tarraconensis. And I felt all right with it. I didn't like that he had Asia because, Syria would be compromised. I couldn't get Ponticia, so it felt a bit bad. But I thought, okay, I can get Southern Gaul in 2 turns. I can get Thracia first turn. I can get probably both Southern Gaul and Syria in 2 turns. And I probably should be able to either clean up Asia or break into Tarraconensis and get advantage that way. Play one of those against each other, go heavy on one of them, avoid the other one. So that was my thought process, and I had no clue where his other picks would be. I assumed maybe Numidia, maybe here in Narbo itself. So a lot of possibilities. So yeah, I was a bit surprised as I got countered, very heavily countered on Thracia, and that was already a very big backfoot. So at this point I was like, okay, I'm fucked. And I assumed he was going to try to do Asia in 2 turns to counter Thracia. So that's why I went heavy into Cilicia. And I noticed, okay, he's not here. He didn't move at all. That's strange. But at this moment I noticed that I was fucked. Need income. When in doubt, you need income. So next turn I decided to get Syria. He finally moved into Galatia, so I was already in jeopardy of losing my income, and I was 1 item behind, although I didn't realize that yet. Thought he probably had 2 +2s instead of a +2 and a +3, so I thought we had probably same income at this point. And this was a very hard turn to decide what to do at the end of this turn. Had to decide either bank on breaking Tarraconensis and probably get wiped out in Thracia and broken in Syria, or let go of Southern Gaul completely and try to do something here instead. And that's what I decided to do. On one hand, because I hadn't finished Southern Gaul and he probably would have assumed that I had, so I knew that he probably was going to try to break Southern Gaul and probably not deploy much in Thracia because he thought I would be giving up on it. And probably going to focus on Syria instead. So I try to play all these things, probably sidestepping me in Syria, it's what I thought. But I try to play with all of these things in mind, and this is what I ended up doing. So I deployed 4 here and did a late attack on that, also late attack here, and just completely delayed the hell that I could with my leftovers. And the idea was that at the end of this, if this went well, I could probably get Ponticia immediately after. So this turn was critical. This turn was like either I remove him here from Thracia or I remove him from Ephesus. And I felt very strongly that he would deploy heavily in Thracia. So I decided to risk everything on a first turn attack on Ephesus and then immediately get Asia afterwards. Or immediately get Ponticia afterwards to claim back my income deficit. So this is what I risked, and yeah. What am I doing? I hate this view. So this is what we deployed, so looked good. He got first turn. So this is what I hate about this fucking template. If you check the settings on this template, I usually pay attention who has first turn, who doesn't have first turn. This one is 16% straight random, and it's a random move order. So it's a lottery. You can either assume that you're not going to get it and delay like hell and then, attack where he's going to move, or you can bet your horses that you're going to get first turn. I tried to bet my horses and I lost, and this probably cost me the game. So yeah, took advantage of that, took Tracia. Luckily for me, he didn't go heavy on Southern Gaul, so I still had the chance to remain alive there. But even then, I would have to do something here in Asia, and I think it's pretty predictable at this point that I would that he would deploy heavily into Lycia, and I also would have to defend Thracia. So this was had to do a bit of a gamble, try to assume what he would try to do. I assumed he was going to deploy very hard, delay a lot, and then attack Syria, or not attack at all, or just attack Galatia with like 3 or something like that. So what I tried to do was predict that he would move out of Syria, of Lycia, and attack here minimally, and go hard, you know, trying to wipe me out in Southern Gaul or Thracia or something like that. And I tried to bank on that and try to get Asia at the same time, which was risky, but I had to do something because I was behind on income at this point. So that's what I tried to do, and it paid off. I managed to get first turn this turn, which was, you know, pretty useless at this point. And unfortunately, he deployed a lot into... Well, it didn't deploy a lot. He only attacked 4. But I didn't predict things properly. I should have attacked more here. I assumed he was going to deploy and sit in Lycia instead of attacking here, which in hindsight was stupid. But it was the prediction that I made at the time. Should have attacked with like 2 or deploy 1 more there, something like that. But yeah, so I was left in this position. Pretty hard to come back from this. So yeah, next turn I managed to break Thracia, or not lose it, but I lost Asia in the process, so I think it was already GG. I had to blockade Aventicum as well. So I surrendered and I cursed a lot, losing 10 elo with this game. Immediately after, I lost another medium earth game against new person, or relatively new person, which with a couple of, well, 2, maybe 3 bad mistakes on my hand. 2 of them was attacking 5 versus 4 instead of 6 versus 4. Because I'm playing the night, because it's dark, so I type on the keyboard 6, but I typed 5 instead, and I didn't realize that when expanding. I did that mistake twice in the same game, which cost me, you know, some early income, and I lost that game as well, and I almost quit Warlight entirely after this. I thought, okay, I'm not gonna play this anymore. I've been playing Quickmatch again, and this tonight was just, you know, brutal. 20 elo loss in 2 games. I'm gonna quit this shit. After a few hours of calming down, I decided to try again some stuff. Had a few more games against the same person, Canis Majoris, on the Imperium Romanum again, and these were critical, because if I lost these games, I would probably definitely decide to quit the game altogether. And Canis apparently knows Imperium Romanum well, because it's one of his main templates. It's the only template I ever caught him on that I have memory of. So this is the second game that I had against Canis. 1-2 in Egypt and Arabia, which is the typical safe expansion. Either get a combo or you counter it immediately. 3-4 on Pannonia, because it's a first turn bonus. Dacia is also first turn bonus, so it's very hard to get this 4. I was assuming that even if I had the 3 and not the 4, I should be able to go into Mursa safely. Because they would be busy using their income to finish Dacia. So that was my decision. And then 5-6 free income, and I assumed that no one was gonna pick Olisipo, but I picked it anyways to, you know, counter one of them if I missed. If I had like 2 of them, I would be happy. And if you see his picks, he did exactly the same thing as me. Well, he did the 5 here in Tergeste. That's the only difference. The rest was same spots, same idea, same concept. Try to get first turn bonus immediately. These were the picks that we got. So we split Arabia, we split Pannonia, and now I knew that he was in both Tribus Lasges, and I could see him in Tergest, so I knew all of his picks. I knew all 4 of his picks, and this is really good intel to know. Because when you know all of his picks, you can predict what he's going to do. He's going to want income. He's going to be panicking that he's surrounded in Lusitania. And he's going to try to get Dalmatia as income for sure. So these 2 things I knew. And if I were him, I would have deployed just 1 in Pelusium. Actually 2. This was a miscalculation on my side. You have 5 initial income, so you can only attack a maximum of 8. You can deploy like 5 and end up with 10, but attacking 9 versus 5, 9 kills 5 but doesn't kill 6, but 8 also kills 5. So usually you deploy 4 and you attack with the whole 8. If you're trying to wipe someone out on first turn. And I assumed something similar. I assumed that he was gonna put just rise up to 9, so I just deployed 1, a single deployment there. This was my deployment. Single 1, and then I would tap him, and that would be fine. But he did the full deploy, so he was smart in that regard. I didn't need to. Well, if I didn't deploy at all, he would need to. But I assumed that he was going to try to break my Arabia, that I would like deploy 2, attack 2, and he would try to break me, either attacking Palestine or attacking Sinai. And he was going to try to survive in Lusitania. That's what I assumed. Maybe tap me in Bracara and Biakula, so I wouldn't get my income. But it felt very like that I could easily get Tarraconensis safely. So he would probably like attack hard Salmatica. That was also another of the possibilities. Or he would just, ignore that completely and try to get income and then deal with me or try to break me afterwards, after seeing what I did. So yeah, this is what he tried to do. And it's not a bad play on his regard, but he should have delayed things more. So this didn't really go his way. So I tapped him there just to get some delays, and I assumed I was safe from elimination, which was my bad. He attacked Dalmatia, which makes sense. And he also attacked Ispalis, which risk on his... I was still doing taps to try to get delays, because I wanted to both attack last action up here in the north and attack last action in Lusitania. And I predicted that he was either going to try to tap me and do nothing, or in which response I could maybe wipe him out from Olisipio, or he was going to try to go to Ispalis. And then I tried to predict that and play around that and try to wipe him out from there, and it paid off. It did exactly that. He went down here, and I had just enough income to wipe him from there. And I also broke his income here. So I was in a pretty good position right now. I lost Arabia stupidly. Should have deployed 1 more, just not tapped there. But I was still happy with this outcome, because now I had 3 places to expand, and I have two things ready to expand. And he does have safer income in midterm, but in short term, it takes a bit longer to get Egypt. So I had a bit of a initial burst position, which I could use to try to wipe him out from Dalmatia. And if I manage to clean him up from the north, I pretty much win the game, because I have easy access to Ponticia after that. So yeah. Expand. He doesn't try to wipe me out. This is what I would have done if I was him. I would have tried to wipe me out from Dalmatia on this turn, because I would have known that I would have been expanding to get income. He didn't try that, so bad on him. And then he didn't try to expand immediately after. So those were his 2 mistakes. Like, you can't win without income. You should be expanding into Egypt already. If you know you're not gonna... Either you would have tried to wipe me out already previous turn, or you would have expanded now. So not expanding now was a bad mistake. managed to get me, but I was already waiting for this. So bad prediction from him. And after this, the game was pretty much in my favor because he had slow income. I could get the +5 in España rather quickly and then put extra pressure to wipe him out from here. I even got lucky and got Dalmatia. He deployed a bit strangely. He tried to keep himself alive in Tribus Lasges instead of, doing something in Savaria or something. I risked it. It paid off. So yeah, now I have 6 income advantage, which is a lot. He can recover a little bit in Syria, but I have very good opportunity to wipe him out now in the north. I miss, so he has, I think he got first turn again. So yeah, he always gets first turn when it matters. Did manage to keep putting pressure on him though, and slowly expand into something else. I assumed he would be expanding into Pontici as well, so I had to be relatively quick. I always also put a foot here to make sure. Well, I had extra things, so I decided just to have a foot here to see if there's anyone coming or not. And I tried to wipe him out from there when I knew that he probably was doing another round of finishing his expansion. Did manage to succeed on that. So yeah, lucky me. He didn't get first turn. Actually, he did get first turn, but he used it wrongly. So he didn't deploy enough. I don't know what he was thinking. Just didn't deploy enough. And if you're doing this, you should have at least, if you're not deploying at all, he deployed minimally. He deployed 4 to here. Against, and I already had the stack here. So this doesn't make any sense, this deployment. If you would have deployed anything, it should have been Intergeste. And like the minimum, considering my previous income, the minimum to stay alive there. So yeah, the game was already in my favor at this point. When I wiped him out, was already won. I knew I had to go to Ponticia fast. That's what I did. And he didn't have enough income. He had decent position, but he just lost the position that he had. Hammered him, managed to break him, and after that, the game was won. He surrendered. So, recovered some of my ELO, but not the whole 10. I recovered like 3 points, maybe 4 points of ELO. I don't even remember anymore. Let me check actually. 4 points of ELO. But yeah, I would need to win like 3 times to recover against him. Had another game against him. It's the last one that we're going to cover today. Interesting layout again, a lot of first turn orders, which is really interesting. Arabia didn't feel very appealing because there was an obvious counter from Egypt, and Egypt was not first turn either, first turn bonus, so it didn't feel very appealing. So I went for 3 first turn bonuses instead. 1-2 here, which in hindsight I should have prioritized Southern Gaul, but this is a very good position, and I think the reason why I prioritized the one in Dacia was because Dacia could itself be a first turn bonus with the position from Greece as well. So and that would have been a decent pick. Slow, but Greece is very good income because it has a very good position, and if you control Dacia at the same time, you can sort of defend it pretty well as well. Also, there was a first turn bonus in Southern Gallia, but then I wouldn't be able to get 2 bonuses, or it would be harder to get them. I would have to fully deploy in Southern Italy to get it, so that's not as appealing. I could have easily have done this one and either these 2 or those 2, but I was assuming that I would probably get like a counter pick on either one of these. So yeah, this is the picks that I ended up doing. And Canis did some very weird picks. Well, I can sort of understand the logic, I just don't agree with it. First pick in Syria. So I think he assumed that I was going to do 1-2 in Egypt, in Arabia. And he was trying to counter me with both Syria and Sicily, which is kind of silly. Because you don't need both counters. Either you have one counter or the other counter. So if you're planning to counter Egypt and Arabia, I agree you should counter it, but Syria would have been enough. you would have been able to expand 1-2, go hard on the 2 into Jude. So unless I would have intel on Arabia, unless I would have intel coming from Arabia, finishing Arabia, and knowing that you were in Cyprus, I would never go hard into Judea. I would probably finish Egypt or something like that. So this was a relatively good counter. The Sicily counter is the one that I don't really agree with. But yeah, anyways, he ended up doing 2 counters and then try to get the safe income in southern Italy, which is all right. If that's the only place you're going to deploy, that's fine. And spreading out his other picks. Could also get first turn in Southern Gale, just fully deploying there, but would likely to get countered by Narbonensis. So I do like my picks a bit better than his. I think he assumed a lot that I would go for Egypt and Arabia, where I had no intention of doing so because there were so many other better options around. So a bit of a misread there. Anyways, this is what we ended up with. He ended up with a very safe Syria, which was good for him. He could get that and then expand into Ponticia. Useless Sicily, which I guess he still assumed was useful because he thought I would have Egypt. And then I had a good position in Pannonia to get that first turn if I was careful. And yeah, this was the hard play, the hard decision for me. Should I try to clean him up from Tergeste? Assume he was going to deploy there and try to break me from first turn bonus, or try to get the bonus instead. I went for the bonus instead, but deploying very hard and assuming that I was delaying enough to be worth the attack. Like even if he attacked with 5 here, I would have deployed enough to break him. I did have a good position, good initial advantage with this, even though he had full stack here. He didn't have anywhere else to expand. So the next turn was critical. I deployed defensively, and he tried to finish Syria, which I think was a mistake. If I was him, I would have tried to, and he also tried to counter Egypt. He assumed I was still in Egypt, even though he saw my deployments. So he knew that I had a first turn bonus somewhere. So I would have had to deploy more to get Arabia. So he should have known that I was not in Arabia. And if I was not in Arabia, I would probably not in Egypt either. Or not getting Egypt this next turn. So this deployment in Syracuse just doesn't make any sense, in my humble opinion. Should have focused completely on staying alive in Dalmatia. Anyways, I deployed defensively and tried to wipe him out, I think. I don't even remember anymore. Let's go step by step. So finishes that. I delay a little bit. I also got income in Narbonensis because I assumed I was going to get broken in Pannonia. And guessed wrongly that he was going to deploy hard in Tergeste and attack one of my sides. He sidestepped instead. So there was a good play on his part. And now he's in, like, he has... What do you do with this? He needs more income, and I would have assumed that he would go for Ponticia. But instead, he kept going on Egypt. So I think that was a major mistake, or another of his mistakes. I did manage to get first turn, which helped me. So the first turn gods are a little bit back on my side. This helped me a lot to keep Pannonia from being broken. Definitely an advantage at this point. He has more income than me at this point. So I knew I needed more income or to wipe him out from Dalmatia. I got a good stack. So I tried again, and this time I did manage to wipe him out and even get the full thing at the same time. So that was a really good turn for me, and it was mostly his fault because he didn't deploy properly. Like, he expanded into all the places that he shouldn't have. He assumed he was gonna get first turn. He assumed that I wasn't gonna predict that first turn. He deployed here, which is just stupid. Why would you need to go here if you have position there already? I guess he assumed he was going to get wiped out, but he still like gave it a chance in case I would have played very badly. And then he overexpanded on all the wrong places. Either you would get Egypt this turn, or you would have expanded into Ponticia properly already. And he expanded into all the places. I went one too far. He expanded also into Arabia, which was also a mistake. So now you are overexpanding and you're trying to break income at the same time. So I think this was where he lost the game. All things considered, he should have only either gone for Egypt or only going for Ponticia, keep his foot alive here instead of going for the counter. So now I'm expanding like hell, and I didn't expect a counter in Dacia at all. I assumed he was going to be expanding like hell. I assumed he had like Arabia and Egypt to begin with instead of the weird Sicily pick. I didn't assume he would be in southern Italy at all. So I knew I had to rush into Byzantium, get a foothold there. And if you see the income, he's already ahead of me, but I'm about to finish the +5. And I know I need more income, so I already go into Hispania, and I get surprised on Dacia. So at this turn, he could still win the game. Because I'm not in the choke point yet. He has surprised me in terms of income. He has income advantage. So yeah, I'm still pretty much screwed at this point. And he can still expand in other places, like in Asia. He can still expand in Arabia, so he could still very easily win the game at this point. I was also expanding into northern Italy because I knew I really needed a lot of income. I also considered going to Britain, but the 4 in Viroconium decided me against it, and I doubled back my troops there. So yeah, I tried to stall as much as possible here, gave up on the position here when I knew he wasn't there, but then I saw him the next turn. That got me even more worried, and I just knew I needed to finish all the income that I could because I was behind on income. So next turn I got Hispania, and I got northern Italy at the same time, and now I was ahead by 5. And his stack wasn't that big, like 11. That's nothing, because he was still deploying to finish more income. And he deployed a lot to protect the choke point, which kind of makes sense, but at the same time he needed the income. So yeah. Anyways, next turn, still have income advantage, and he played so badly that I even wiped him out from Dacia. I double stepped back into Pisai, just forfeiting the +5 completely to get like the wipeout in Dacia. And this paid off because I managed to get +3. This gives me enormous advantage. Like without this +3, it would have been hard to keep a foot in the game. Then it's guessing time again at the end of this turn. Like I could either, I have a big stack, so I can just move the big stack there. I can split it between there and down there and put some pressure into southern Italy. The one place that I definitely need to protect is Spotelium, and I would have assumed that it was gonna attack with 3 to Rome and deploy everything else into Haemonius, but I don't think that's what he does. He deployed everything into Capua and he tried to break me, which was fine. I could live with that. I deployed enough. So yeah, I think this was one of the points that I won, or that I managed to retain the game, because you need to be able to break that. You need to be able to break this income fast, or this one, like one of these. You can't stay a whole turn without breaking any income. And at the end of the turn, that's exactly what happened. He didn't manage to break. He attacked, and I managed to survive against him there. 44 versus 31. And like he didn't even get stack advantage on Immonitius. He didn't get stack advantage anywhere. He just lost position everywhere. Like here, no break here, no break there. So this was a dead turn for him. So yeah, I would easily have... It's hard to judge on this, but I would probably have sidestepped into Rome with 3, because even if you lose southern Italy, it doesn't really matter that much. It's a lot more important that you don't lose your good position here. So I would have probably sidestepped into Rome with like maybe 5, 6, or deploy enough to make sure that I don't get broken, knowing your opponent's income, and like just not attack. Just make sure not to give them the odds and only attack small into Rome on last action, and deploy everything else into Emirnatius and attack there hard instead, to, you know, break down the income for sure and have a big, strong, solid thing. And even next turn, you could even probably get Thracia out of that. So yeah, I think this was a very bad turn for him. Next turn, he blockades Byzantium, which was even weirder. And not a very big blockade, so I'm happy with that. And meanwhile, I see him coming hard into Pisae, so I just decide to deploy, and I know I have income advantage. I deploy everything into Pisae and I blockade that. And it works, because he focuses on Epirus, which was another mistake of his. So, few sequence of mistakes in a row. Blockading Byzantium, there was no need for that. He could easily have kept that and sidestepped other stuff. Not predicting that I would deploy here and blockade it as well. The blockade was small in itself, so if you're going to blockade harder, making sure that I can't possibly break it with a big stack that I already have. So yeah, that was another mistake. And now he had to go the long way around, so his stack was pretty much useless here. On the center of Italy. And this was where I won the game. I broke his blockade up here, even though I don't have that much of an advantage in terms of income. He has to go the long way around to reach me. He can get some extra income while I don't have that much options. All of them are shitty, so I decide to, you know, just break his income instead. Sort of works. Managed to get my foot there, break him. He managed to recover a little bit in terms of income by getting Africa and then Numidia. But that's not enough, you know. Even when he shows up here in Caralis, I know I just have to defend, maybe fine a couple of times, keep my foot in the places to avoid him getting new income, keep pushing my big stacks, covering his territory. And once you get Lycia, you can get into Creta, which is a very good position to break Egypt as well. So yeah, he didn't defend at all in Syria. So I just kept getting more income advantage over this, and he failed to break Hispania, which was the critical choke point. Still had a couple of turns until he reaches Venetia, and even then, you know, he's too far away from my income. That's the bottom line. He's too far away. Even if he had more income, I would still be able to out-delay him. So yeah. Win in the end, bit sweaty, wasn't looking very good early on in the beginning, but yeah, I think I recovered pretty well, and good solid win in the beginning, in the end. So yeah, I wanted to talk about these 3 games. Hope you find this interesting. I also just realized that I was slightly hiding the income, I think, which is not good. But yeah. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good games. If you have any specific question about, you know, tactics on Warlight or stuff like that, do let me know. Otherwise, see you in a game. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.